Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I wanna explain about passive voice of WH question. So check it out. Passive voice in WH question. First, we have to know the pattern of WH question is WH question plus auxiliary plus subject plus verb plus complement plus mark question. It has to be remembered by us later. Next, we have to remember to the general pattern of passive voice is be plus verb 3. And the main purpose is if the general pattern of WH question in passive voice is WH question plus auxiliary plus subject plus verb 3 plus complement plus marked questions. There are 9 question words in this explanation which will be delivered later. Okay, the first is who. Who is used for asking subject person. And here I give a sentence that includes some WH questions. My mother always visits my grandmother's house at Poncuk every morning because she is sick. Because who is used for asking subject person, so the subject in the sentence has to stress and we change into who. Then, after we change the sentence into WH question, we should change into passive voice in WH questions. By whom is grandmother's house always visited? Next is how. How it used for reason. And the example is, how often does my mother visit my grandmother's house? And the passive is, how often is my grandmother's house visited by her mother? What as a predicate. For the example is, what does my mother always do? What is always done by my mother? What as a subject thing. The example is, what does always beat my cat? And the passive is, what is always my cat beaten? Next is what as object thing. The example is, what does your dog always beat? And the passive is, what is always beaten by your dog? Where. It used for place. The example is, where does my mother always visit my grandmother's house? The passive is, where is my grandmother's house always visited by my mother? Next is when. It used for time. The example is, when does my mother always visit my grandmother's house at Poncuk? The passive is, when is my grandmother's house always visited by my mother at Poncuk? Why? It's used for reason. The example is, why does my mother always visit my grandmother's house at Poncuk every morning? The passive is, why is my grandmother's house always visited by my mother at Poncuk every morning? Whose. It used for possessions. The example is, my mother likes my cat. An active question is, whose cat my mother likes? The passive question is, whose cat is liked by my mother? Next is which. It used for choice. Example, I like a cute orange cat. An active question is, which cat do you like? Passive question is, which cat is liked by you? And the last one is whom. It used for object person. The example is, whom does always my mother visit? The passive is, whom always visited by my mother. After we have already learned passive voice in WH questions, now we should exercise our understanding about it. Here, there are 9 exercises and I will give an example in the first exercise. Number 1. Who leaves my party? By whom is my party is left? So, for the next exercise, you should answer it by yourself to try your understanding. So, maybe that's all from me. Thank you for your nice attention. Don't forget to practice, guys. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.